Hey, in today's lesson, I'm going to teach you the 5 things you must stop saying. But at the end of the lesson, I'm going to tell you the story about when I got kidnapped. Don't miss it. I'm Teacher Tiffany. Let's jump right in. All right, number 1, you need to stop saying, I can't speak English well. I have so many students that say this on a regular basis, and I've had so many students in the past that said, I can't speak English well. But you see, there's something about this statement that is dangerous. You see, what you're actually saying is, I don't have confidence in my ability to speak English, so I don't want you to expect me to do well. Now, here are the reasons why it's so dangerous. The person listening to you will expect you to make mistakes. That's right. The moment you say, I can't speak English well, the person listening to you will say, okay, well, you are going to make mistakes. And that's not what you want them to think. Now, the other reason why this is dangerous is because you will immediately feel like a beginner. Remember, the words you use have an effect on you immediately. And the final reason why this statement is so dangerous is your confidence level will continue to decrease. So again, this statement of I can't speak English well needs to leave your brain. You need to stop saying this statement. And instead, here is the solution. Don't say this at all. Instead, when someone asks you a question, simply start speaking. That's right. Just start speaking. Remember that it's okay to make a mistake. The fact that you try to speak in a language that is not your first language will impress them. This is the main idea. The fact that you are learning a language that is not your mother tongue is amazing. So don't start off your ideas or your conversation by saying, I'm not good. I can't speak English well. No, just go for it and start speaking. Don't be afraid of mistakes. All right. Now, number 2, the second thing you must stop saying is, I know my pronunciation is bad. You've probably said this before, right? I know my pronunciation is bad, and then you keep talking. But let me tell you what that means. You're basically saying, I sound horrible when I speak, and people probably can't understand me. Now, this is something that has a really detrimental or bad effect on you. Now, real quick, you notice that my voice sounds a little bit different today. You can tell, right? I'm okay, but it's early in the morning, so my voice really hasn't turned on just yet, but I'm totally okay. All right. So talking about your pronunciation, don't say, I know my pronunciation is bad. 3 reasons. Here we go. It will be harder for you to correct your pronunciation mistakes. Next, your brain will adapt to your idea and it will be hard for you to improve. If you keep saying, I know my pronunciation is bad, your brain will say, okay, so let's not make an effort to even improve your pronunciation. All right. The final reason why this is dangerous is the person listening to you will automatically assume that they won't understand you. And this is not what you want. Again, by putting this statement out there in the beginning, by saying, I know my pronunciation is bad, everyone listening to you will say, yeah, his or her pronunciation is probably going to be bad. And you don't want them to think that. So here's the solution. Instead of saying this, you need to say, I want to sound like a native English speaker. That's right. Instead of saying my pronunciation is bad, don't acknowledge your weakness by repeating it over and over again. Instead, acknowledge your goal. Keep saying your goal. I want to sound like a native English speaker. I will eventually sound like a native English speaker. There are power in your words. Not just, there is power in your words. All right. There's power in saying those words. All right. Now let's go on to number 3. The third thing you must stop saying. All right. Here we go. The third thing is, I don't know enough vocabulary. Now, I hear this all the time, even from my advanced English speaking students. Teacher, I just don't know enough English vocabulary. But let me tell you what you're actually saying when you say this. I can't express myself using the English vocabulary that I know. You're basically inhibiting yourself or stopping yourself from being able to use what you do know. Now, here are the 3 reasons why this is so dangerous. You won't use the English vocabulary you actually do know. Next, the person listening will automatically think that you are a beginner. And finally, you will remain frustrated because there are too many words to learn in English. Listen, I'm going to tell you the truth. As an American, as a native English speaker, even I learn new English words all the time, and I speak English fluently. It's my native language. But you know what? Even yesterday, I was listening to a podcast episode with a pastor that I really like. And the pastor is super intelligent. And whenever he speaks, he uses very, very difficult vocabulary words. And sometimes I have to look them up. I'm an American, but I don't get frustrated because there's always something new to learn. So the same is true for you. Realize that you're not going to learn every single word, but you know a lot already, and use the words that you do know. But there is a solution that I want you to follow, okay? Here's a solution. Instead, you should learn 3 new English words a day and then use those words to express yourself throughout the day. Notice I said learn the words and immediately use them throughout the day. That's very important. This will build your English vocabulary and give you confidence in your ability to use what you learn. It's so important to use what you learn. All right. Now let's go on to number 4. The 4th thing you must never say, you must stop saying when you're trying to speak English. Number 4, this person is better than me. Now, I put a space there because you probably have a certain person in mind. Maybe it's Brandon. Maybe it's Raphael. Maybe it's Susan. There's someone that you see on a regular basis or that you've seen maybe in an English class and you say, man, Fred is better than me. Wow. Shell is better than me. Or you say these individuals' names. Now, this is what you're actually saying. I will never be as good as the person's name, so I should stop trying. That's the danger. You're really saying, I'm not as good as them, so why should I try? I should just give up. Now, there are 3 reasons why this is so dangerous and why you should stop saying this. You will focus on others instead of looking at your own improvements. Next, you will feel discouraged and frustrated. And remember, a few weeks back, we talked about this frustration that you experience as an English learner. And I totally understand because I also felt frustrated many times when I was studying Korean. Now, the other reason is you will get frustrated when you make mistakes. You see, you have to be gentle with yourself. As a learner, you're learning English. As a student, you are going to make mistakes. But if you are constantly focused on what Sally or Sam or someone else is doing and their abilities, when you make mistakes, you'll just get more frustrated instead of understanding that mistakes are part of the process. So here's the solution. The solution is instead you should write down 3 things you admire about the person's speaking ability. That's right. There are going to be individuals who you admire. You admire their ability to speak in English eloquently. Well, write 3 things you admire about them. Now, the next thing is figure out a study plan that will help you improve your skills in the same areas. So, for example, if you admire Johnny's ability to express himself using advanced English vocabulary words, okay, find a book on advanced English vocabulary. Or if you admire Sally's ability to give 3 reasons whenever she speaks, her ability to organize her thoughts, well, focus on how to organize your thoughts, finding a plan to do that. All right. Now, finally, you need to follow your new study plan and practice. All right. Now, number 5 is very important. You need to stop saying, I will never speak English fluently. Now, last week, we had our English fluency marathon. Woo, loved it. It was great. We spent so much time together and I taught you how to speak English fluently. I gave you the 5-step plan. Here's the thing though. In the midst of our English fluency marathon, many people said, I will never be fluent. Or they sent me emails saying, it's impossible to be fluent, teacher. We're not native English speakers. And as an English teacher, I really felt sad because I have seen students begin to speak English fluently by following a certain plan, and their confidence improved. So this is why I want to tell you, stop saying that, because what you're actually saying is this right here. I am not smart enough to speak English. And that right there is not true. You are very intelligent. You're learning another language. You are already amazing. Now, there are 3 reasons why I don't want you to say this anymore. All right. First, you will never recognize your own improvements if you say this. Next, you won't apply techniques that will help you become fluent in English. For example, during the English Fluency Marathon, I gave you all the 5 simple steps that will help you to be fluent in English. But I still got messages from other students saying, I don't know, teacher, is it really possible? They enjoyed the classes, but they still doubted their ability to speak English fluently. They felt like they weren't smart enough. And I had to let them know, hey, I guarantee if you follow this plan, you will speak English fluently. I believed in their abilities more than they did. So that's why it's so important for you to stop saying this. And the other reason is you will continue to feel discouraged and frustrated. Now, don't worry, I have a solution. Here's the solution. Instead, say, I am not fluent yet, but I will be in the future. Come on now. You're not fluent yet, but you will be in the future. I want you to start saying that. Remind yourself, hey, I'm not fluent right now, but that but is the key. I will be fluent in the future. And then your brain will go into overdrive. You'll start to put all of your energy and effort into really learning English and improving your English skills. Remember, what you say will affect you in ways that you never realized. So I want you to remember to stop saying these 5 things. You can accomplish all of your goals in English. Now, I do want to remind you all that there is a part 2. As always, I interviewed my friend Johnny. He's another ESL teacher and he is living in South Korea. I really enjoyed talking to him and we discussed even more things that you as a student should stop saying. Things that are actually hurting you and inhibiting you from speaking English fluently. So again, if you're already a member of my academy, all you have to do is click the link in the description and you can watch it right now. I also included the audio file that you can download. If you're not one of my students, if you're not in my academy, all you have to do is go to this link right here, letsjumprightin.com, sign up right now, enroll and join our family, and you can watch part 2 of my conversation with Johnny and learn so many other things you need to stop saying so that you can improve your English. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's lesson, these 5 things that you need to stop saying right now so that you can improve your English. Now, I'm going to talk to you next week, but as always, remember to speak English. You know what time it is, and it's been a while. It's story time. Hey, I said it's story time. My voice came back a little bit. All right, so I promised you guys at the beginning of the lesson that I'd tell you about the time I got kidnapped. So when I was in college, when I was in university, I actually worked very hard. I told you all in a previous story time that my parents, greatest parents ever, they sacrificed a lot for my sister and I. So when I enrolled in university, I got a scholarship, but their scholarship was partial. So there was an amount of money that I had to pay. And I told my parents, don't worry, you won't have to pay anything. You've done your job. I'll work a few jobs and I'll pay the rest of my tuition. Of course, they were excited. So thus began my journey of working and studying when I was in university. Now, my first job when I was on campus in my freshman year, I was about 17 years old. No. It was my sophomore year, my second year in university. I was 18 years old, between 18 and 19 years old. And I went to an Adventist college. I went to a private university, private Christian university. And they had a program where during our spring break, was it spring break? Yep. During the spring break, we could go canvassing. Now, canvassing, that just meant that we would go door to door selling books. So, for example, this is my notebook, but imagine this is a book talking about the love of Jesus, the love of Christ, and explaining how to understand the Bible. We had tons of books and we would go door to door and sell the books, right? So it was a great program. And what would happen is we'd sell the books and we'd get a percentage of the profit. Whatever the book sale was, we'd get a percentage. And I used that money to help pay for my tuition. So that's the backstory, right? That's the background of the story. Now, during this spring break, we called it a campaign. A large group of us went together. All right. So there were let's say there were about 15 of us. There were, I think, 7 females and 7 males. And then we had our leaders, right? So maybe there were 16 of us because 7 male students, 7 female students, and then our leaders it was a female and a male as well. So there were 16 of us all together, roughly. So anyways, now again, I was about 18 or 19 years old. We were all pretty young. You know, you're in college, you're young, you love life, right? But we were all interested in making money and working hard for God. So now the individuals that were over us, so let's say we were 18 or 19. They were only about 21 or 22. They weren't that much older than us, but they were our leaders. So there were 2 vans. So, we took 2 vans and we drove from my university. It may have been maybe about 6 or 7 hours, maybe, to our location. And we stayed at a lady's house. And for a 7-day period, every day from morning to the evening, we'd go out and we'd knock on doors. It was hard work, but again, we developed a really good work ethic because if you want to make money, you need to put the effort into it and work hard. So anyway, so we're knocking on doors every day. And what normally would happen is each day, the guy and the female, actually, I'll tell you their names. The guy's name was Estes. Estes, if you ever see this, I never forget you, brother. Estes was one of the leaders, and Tiffani. Yes, her name was Tiffani, right? With the same name. Her name was Tiffani. She was the other leader. And they were about, again, 2 or 3 years older than all of us. So each day we would go out and we'd go knocking door to door, and Estes would take 1 van and Tiffani would take 1 van. So on this particular day, they decided to let all of the females go with Tiffani and all the males went with Estes. No problem. So we were out, we spent all day, working hard, and we had kind of walkie-talkies. So throughout the day, Tiffani and Estes would talk to each other. And also the students, us, we had our walkie-talkies to let them know like, hey, I sold a few books. I need kind of more books. So they'd come and drop off more books. So on this particular day, we had sold our books and we were back in the van. Now, Tiffani had all of us. Tiffani, the leader, had gathered all the females and we were sitting in our van. And Estes had all the male students, and they were in his van. And we just happened to be, Tiffani and our group just happened to be sitting in a parking lot because we were waiting for the boys. Estes said, hey, we're on our way. Don't worry, we're coming. So we're sitting in our van. It was a dark parking lot, but this was years ago, so we didn't feel unsafe or anything. It was a safe area. So the girls were just sitting in there, as ladies do, just talking, yapping, just chatting. And The doors were unlocked, but we weren't thinking anything about the doors because we were fine. So we're sitting in the van, and all of a sudden, a van pulled up speeding, like, boom, right beside us. So it caught us off guard, and it pulled up very quickly, and a guy jumped out of the car. The guy jumped out of the car, ran to the driver's seat where Tiffani was sitting, opened her door, pulled her out, and then he got in and shut the door, put it in drive, and he drove off. And it happened so fast. Now, again, there's 7 other female students sitting in the van as this is happening. He's in the driver's seat, puts it in drive, and he pulls off. So we're sitting there, what is going on? Then the driver, as he's pulling off, starts laughing. So we're like, oh my goodness. And turns around and says, hello, ladies. It was Estes. The guys had come up with this plan to kidnap the girls. So Estes jumped in our van, kidnapped us, and left Tiffani with the other male students. Man, he was rolling as he was driving, just laughing. So I got kidnapped by my leader while I was trying to do work for God. So we have always laughed about that situation. I mean, that 7-day period was so much fun. That was just one thing that happened when he kidnapped us. But we had water fights, we played basketball together, and we worked hard. But that situation taught me something about being a leader and also about working hard, but also playing hard. You know, sometimes in life, we have to work hard. We have to put in a lot of effort, but it's also good to enjoy life, to laugh sometimes, and to enjoy what you're doing. So I always try to, with my students, you guys aren't physically in class with me, but you'll notice I always try to make something enjoyable, have a good time, because you can enjoy yourself and work hard. So I always remembered that situation, and I always remembered, you know what? In the future, whenever I work with young people or other individuals who are learning from me, I want to make sure that I intertwine or include some fun things, some fun events, kind of like this story time. I started story time months ago, but I only started it because you guys started enjoying it so much. So I said, you know what? I can teach them, but then we can also have a good time together. So I hope you guys enjoyed that story time of me getting kidnapped, but not really. All right, guys, I will talk to you next week. Have an awesome week, and I'll see you next time.